Hey, I'm Mona Black from Gastonia, North Carolina, and we're here today going to make some smothered and covered meatloaf. You know, meatloaf is not really good all by itself. It's really wonderful with mashed potatoes. So that's what we're going to smother it and cover it with, is mashed potatoes. Okay, so we're going to start out today with our ingredients. What we need to do to make our meatloaf is the 2 pounds of hamburger meat. Once you have the 2 pounds of hamburger meat, you're going to do 1½ cups of chopped onion and 1½ cups of chopped green pepper. Okay? Then we're going to add 1 cup of dry oatmeal. This is like the quick cook oatmeal, 1 cup of that. We have a ½ cup of ketchup. All of this ingredients together is going to make a wonderful meatloaf. And this is not a normal meatloaf the way that I prepare it. It's going to be a little bit different probably than what you're used to. Okay, we're going to add next, we're going to add 1 jar, and it is of the Heinz chili sauce. A lot of people's never even bought that before, but I use it in several ingredients to make meatballs and spaghetti and some meatloaf and all kinds of good stuff. So we're going to add that into here. And then we're going to have 4 eggs. Okay, so we have all of our mixture here. We're going to mix it up, and you know there's really no good way to mix meatloaf unless you mix it with your hands. So that's what we're going to do. We have clean hands here, and we're just going to mix our meatloaf up. You just kind of run your fingers all through it, get everything mixed up really good. And this meatloaf is different, like I was telling you a minute ago, how we're going to prepare it. It's not going to be baked in the oven. It's going to be cooked in an electric skillet. Or you can either cook it in a frying pan on top of the stove as long as you have a lid that fits. So that's what we're going to do. And it's going to be wonderful. It lets all the flavors go through. And it doesn't get dry at all. You know, a lot of meatloafs, when people bake them in the oven, they're just like a thick, coarse texture. And it's kind of dry and just a whole wad of meat. But when you add the ketchup and the chili sauce and all this wonderful stuff to this mixture, it just really makes it so good. Okay, just kind of keep flipping it all around and making sure that you get it all mixed up good. And if people doesn't really like in your family peppers and onions, you can sometimes put them in the blender and chop them up really, really fine to where people can't recognize them. Because a lot of times it's that people just don't like the thought of it being peppers and onions, so if they don't see it, they really never even know that it's in there. But this is kind of a necessity for really a good meatloaf, adding peppers and onions. Okay, now once that we've got this mixed up good, what we're going to do next is we have our electric skillet, or electric fry pan, some people calls it. It's not flat like a plain skillet. This is more like a frying pan. So we're going to just take and press this meat out. You want to kind of level it out good. Press it out in your skillet. And normally when I do this, I make a large amount, you know, the 2 pounds of hamburger meat, because we like to have leftovers and have meatloaf sandwiches or different things with it. So you can halfen the recipe if you don't want to make quite as much. Just halfen everything. Use the 1 pound of meat and halfen everything else. All right, here we go. So we've got all of that put in the skillet, and this is what it's going to look like. Be sure every time that you handle raw meat, you're going to want to really wash your hands good, because it's not good to have raw meat on your hands as you're fooling with other things. Here it is. This is what it looks like. Then we're going to make the topping. And what we have for the topping is going to make this really, really scrumptious. We're going to take and make, it is 2 cups of ketchup. And I do use Heinz just because it's a little bit sweeter and I like the flavor of it. We have 3 tablespoons of mustard. And we have 1/4 cup of brown sugar. Okay, you just kind of stir this all up really good. Okay, once you get this kind of stirred up good, make sure your brown sugar and everything's just spread around good and kind of dissolved in your ketchup. You're just going to pour all this on top of your meatloaf mixture. And we're going to add our, once it's almost finished cooking, we're going to add our wonderful mashed potatoes to it. You'll take this right here and spread out evenly over the top of it. And as this cooks, oh my goodness, the flavor just goes all through it. You just have a wonderful meatloaf. It's just moist and delicious. Okay, so we got this spread out here. And this is what it's going to look like. We're going to take it over here and we're going to plug it up. And I've already got my potatoes going. When you plug this meatloaf up and you cook it, you're going to want to cook it on medium-high temperature for just about 2 minutes just to get it warmed up good. Then once you get it warmed up, you're going to want to cook it on medium-low temperature for 45 minutes. And what you want to do, if you have one that has the temperature, it's anywhere from like 225. You can start it out at 250 and go to 225. You can watch it, it'll be sizzling and bubbling and everything. You don't want to burn it. So be sure that you cut it down to around 225 and then let it cook for the 45 minutes. I'm going to be washing my hands real fast, then we're going to prepare the mashed potatoes. I already have the potatoes boiled. I made about maybe 4.5, 5 pounds of potatoes. I've diced them. I've went ahead and boiled them. Just going to strain them here. Once we get them strained, we're going to go over there and add all of our ingredients. And we're going to let this meatloaf cook. And about the last 5 minutes of the meatloaf cooking is when that you're going to add these mashed potatoes. Okay. Now in our delicious mashed potatoes, we're going to add, of course, we're going to add our cream cheese. We have Philadelphia cream cheese. Today we're going to use 4 ounces of the cream cheese. We have 1/4 of a cup of mayonnaise, 1/4 of a cup of sour cream. We have 1 stick of butter. You know, what would mashed potatoes be without butter? Then we have cream. It's evaporated milk. There's going to be about 1/2 cup of evaporated milk. Then we're going to add just a little bit of salt and pepper. And on ours, well, I like a lot of salt and pepper in my mashed potatoes. Okay, so what we're going to do is just mix this up. We're going to make it really good and creamy. They are delicious. This makes the fluffiest, whitest, most beautiful mashed potatoes. And if you want to make extra potatoes for those that maybe just want an extra side dish other than what you put on the top of your smothered and covered meatloaf, that'll be fine. Sometimes I'll make extra mashed potatoes and make little potato fritters the next day. So, there we go. Okay, we've got them mixed up good. And I've already prepared over here one of the meatloaves where we can really, this is what the meatloaf looks like. We're going to go ahead and put our mashed potatoes on here, and they're just going to be wonderful and creamy. And you'll just take and pour the mashed potatoes across the whole top. We had about maybe 5 more minutes left on this cooking. There we go. Once you get this on, you're just going to take and spread the mashed potatoes evenly on it. Then you're going to put the lid back on it for the last 5 minutes of cooking. Now as you're cooking your meatloaf in these electric pans here, or even on the stove, you want to make sure that the meatloaf is bubbled all in the middle, that you can see all the juices coming up and all that stuff. We're going to let this finish cooking. It's going to be for about maybe 5 more minutes, and then we're going to have a beautiful finished product for you to see. Here we go. We have some absolutely wonderful, wonderful smothered and covered.